Hey, good morning. Happy Friday. Uh, it's No Shave Friday. Um, I wanted to comment on a Facebook thread that I've been following the last couple days here in my local community. It was on our community has kind of this Facebook group that somebody put together. There's like 7,000 members on it. And people post all kinds of stuff. A lot of times there's rants and raves. Um, and this was a rant about a local business, a restaurant. And the rant was basically this stream of consciousness, lots of grammatical errors. The guy was really upset with the price of the food, the service experience, and went on and on for pages. And then people went on and on for pages and pages and pages of comments, and a lot of them were nasty, as you might imagine. Many of them were, yeah, that's right, those guys suck, I'm never going in there. And then there was probably an equal amount, I don't know if there was an equal amount of people jumping, no, probably a small, like a handful of people saying, oh, I've actually eaten there ever since they opened, and I love them, and I know the owners, and they're awesome, and they're great, and just fairly effusive, I guess. What's interesting is, I actually have had similarly negative experiences with this restaurant. I didn't feel quite as crazy upset as this guy apparently did. And it wasn't about the price for me, although I think to me, this place doesn't have the value. The service, in my opinion, is kind of mediocre compared to a lot of other restaurants, even locally. Food is good, but not for the price, and with the service experience, to me, I don't really go there anymore, and I used to go there a lot. So that's kind of a whole nother subject. I could explain my experience and why it was really mediocre, etc. But what I really took away from this is it is so important as business leaders, particularly if you own a business, and I have for a number of years, to not create an echo chamber for ourselves. And I think, so the opposite of an echo chamber, I think, right, where you're essentially surrounding yourself with people that love you and are just telling you what you want to hear. The opposite of that is to consider customer critique as a canary in the coal mine scenario. I think that's probably the smartest place for a business owner to camp out, is when a customer has the gumption to tell me what they thought of their experience really candidly and really thoroughly, there's a really good chance, assuming they're not crazy, and this guy's not crazy, he was pissed off, he was probably, the emotional intelligence probably not super high, but the guy wasn't crazy. There was a really negative perception that guy got. I think when we get those points of feedback as business owners, we have to really consider that if this guy is having this crazy of a reaction, there's probably a number of other people that just didn't have the gumption to say anything, and either aren't going to come back or are wanting an alternative to what I'm giving. And as soon as that alternative becomes available, they're going to that alternative. I think you have to assume that as a business. If all you do is surround yourself with people that, are just constantly amplifying your own personal press of how great we are and what we aspire to, I think you're setting yourself up for eventual failure. And, for a small restaurant, eventual failure looks like a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily mean go out of business, but it does mean losing a ton of market share where new people come into the market that are doing it better. It does mean that it makes it really hard to sell your business when you want to retire because the blue sky just isn't there. You've got a mediocre Yelp presence, a mediocre TripAdvisor presence. There's a lot of ways it plays out. It's interesting in a local small community. businesses can hang on for a long time. It doesn't mean they're successful. It doesn't mean people like them. It doesn't mean their product is good. It just means that they don't have to make a lot of money. They don't aspire to making a lot of money. And the owners have a very modest income. There's local businesses that survive that way for generations. So where was I going? To me, that's the takeaway. The reason why I landed at that takeaway is somebody jumped in this Facebook thread and said, hey, when are we going to knock this whole public Facebook commenting thing off and just go straight to the owner or manager of the business and give them feedback there and give them a chance to fix it and rectify it in a constructive way? This isn't good for anybody, was their comment, about the whole Facebook thread. Well, the interesting thing is that I actually have given my feedback to the owner of that business, to one of the owners of the business. I actually asked for their email so I could share some of my thoughts, and I sent a really thoughtful email, not a flaming one, but kind of business owner to business owner. At the time, I owned a local business, and no response. So I don't hold that against them. Look, I am sure that there are more times than I can count where people have felt blown off by me. And I'm not proud of it. And I regret that. I mean, I can think of certain times in my career where I probably would have explained away or blown off feedback I got from a customer. Dismissed it outright as, hey, this is a jerk customer and there's nothing I can take from this. What I feel like I've learned over time, though, is that most customers do not give feedback. Most customers do not. I actually wrote about this in a blog post 8 or 9 years ago. There's still been times I haven't taken my own advice, but over time, I feel like where I've settled is most customers do not give feedback. So the ones that do pipe up, if you can just filter through the anger or frustration or emotion or lack of emotional intelligence, the poor grammar, and say, is there a trend here? Is there something here that I can watch for and observe to see if there's something actionable here? Something that I can improve on, something that my team can improve on. Is there something here? Because if it's so hard, and I believe it is, for people, generally your typical customer to give feedback. Most customers do not jump on Yelp. Most customers do not jump on TripAdvisor. Think about it. If you have 400, 500, 600 receipts a month in your business, in your restaurant, I don't even know. I'm just throwing a figure out there. And you have 40 Yelp reviews, it means very few of your customers jump on Yelp and share their experience. How many of those customer comment cards, if you have them in your business, actually come in over how many years you've been in business, right? So we have to consider that if someone is feeling this way, this strongly, there are probably a dozen other people or more that feel exactly the same way. And what does that mean? And should you make a change? Should you shift your business? Is there an opportunity in that? Not can my business survive because a bunch of people like me, but is there an opportunity in me fixing some of these elements that people have commented on and getting more customers, or making this person an actual fan of my business to where they're advocating for my business? Is there an opportunity there? I think that's the takeaway from these kind of Facebook rants that happen. I am not one of those people that says, oh, you're always going to have people that hate you. Well, yeah, that's true. And you're not trying to cater your business to that. Well, yeah, that's true. But I think more often than not, as business owners, we are way too dismissive. Business owners, business leaders, if you manage a business, right, you have to take ownership over this stuff. And far too often, we are way too quick to dismiss feedback from somebody that is ticked off. We just think, oh, if they're going to treat me, if they're going to talk that way, I'm, they don't deserve my time, and I'm just going to fire them as a customer. Well, I think that's a mediocre response. It might be even reasonable, but it's not going to lead to a great, enduring legacy business that's thriving with an owner that's making lots of money, with employees that are happy and have opportunities over time. It doesn't lead to that. Okay, that's all. All right, till next time. All right, have a good Friday.